The journey to fluent English. Once upon a time in a small village nestled between rolling hills, there lived a young boy named Arjun. Arjun was a curious and eager learner, always fascinated by the stories his grandmother told him every evening. One day, as he sat by the riverbank, he noticed a group of travelers speaking a language he didn't understand. Their words flowed like the river, smooth and clear, but to Arjun, they were a mystery. He later learned that they were speaking English. From that day on, Arjun was determined to learn English and speak it as fluently as the travelers did. But he didn't know where to start. One evening, he confided in his grandmother about his wish. She smiled warmly and told him, "Arjun, learning a new language is like planting a tree. It starts small, with just a seed, but with time and care, it grows tall and strong." Inspired by his grandmother's words, Arjun decided to embark on a journey to learn English. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was ready to be patient and persistent. Step 1. Listening. Arjun's grandmother explained that the first step to speaking English correctly was to listen. She said, "Just as a baby learns to speak by listening to the people around him, you must also listen to English as much as you can." Arjun began to listen to English songs and watched English movies with subtitles. At first, he couldn't understand much, but he didn't give up. He noticed the way people pronounced words, the tone they used, and how they expressed their feelings. Slowly, he started picking up new words and phrases. He realized that listening helped him get used to the sounds and rhythm of the language. Step 2. Imitation. One day, while practicing, Arjun's grandmother taught him about imitation. She said, "Arjun, just like a painter learns by copying the works of masters, you can learn to speak English by imitating native speakers." Arjun started repeating phrases he heard in movies and songs. He stood in front of a mirror and practiced saying them aloud, copying the way the speakers moved their mouths and the expressions on their faces. At first, it felt strange, but soon, Arjun noticed that his pronunciation was improving. He felt more confident speaking in English, even if it was just to himself. Step 3. Vocabulary building. As Arjun's confidence grew, he realized that he needed more words to express himself. His grandmother explained, "Words are the building blocks of any language. The more words you know, the better you can express your thoughts." Arjun began carrying a small notebook with him everywhere he went. Whenever he heard a new word, he would write it down along with its meaning. At night, before going to bed, he would review the words he had learned that day. He also started reading simple English books, underlining words he didn't know and looking them up later. Over time, his vocabulary expanded, and he could form more complex sentences. Step 4. Practice speaking. One day, Arjun's grandmother introduced him to a friend of hers who was an English teacher. The teacher told Arjun, "Practice is the key to speaking any language fluently. You must speak English as often as you can, even if you make mistakes." At first, Arjun was shy and afraid of making mistakes. But his grandmother encouraged him, saying, "Mistakes are not failures, Arjun. They are stepping stones to success. Arjun started speaking English with his grandmother and the teacher every day. He also tried speaking English with his friends, even though they were all learning together. The more he practiced, the more comfortable he became. He learned that it was okay to make mistakes because each mistake taught him something new. Step 5. Thinking in English. One evening, as Arjun sat by the riverbank, his grandmother joined him. She asked, "Arjun, what do you think about when you sit here?" Arjun replied, "I think about how the river flows, how the birds sing, and how the wind feels on my face." His grandmother smiled and said, "Try thinking about these things in English. If you can think in English, you'll be able to speak it more naturally." Arjun took her advice to heart. He began to narrate his thoughts in English, even if it was just in his mind. At first, it was difficult, and he often switched back to his native language without realizing it. But with time, he found it easier to think in English. This helped him speak more fluently and confidently. Step 6. Joining conversations. Arjun's progress was noticeable. His grandmother was proud of him, but she knew there was one more step he needed to take. She told him, "Arjun, speaking to yourself is good, but joining conversations with others will help you learn even more." Arjun was nervous at first. He worried that people might laugh at his mistakes. But his grandmother reminded him that learning was a journey and that every step he took was important. So, Arjun started joining conversations in English whenever he could. He spoke to tourists who visited his village, participated in English discussions at school, and even joined an online group where people from different countries practiced English together. Each conversation taught him something new, and he began to understand the flow of natural conversation, the use of idioms, and the cultural nuances that come with the language. Step 7. Continuous learning. As the years passed, Arjun became fluent in English. He could speak confidently, understand others easily, and even help his friends improve their English. But Arjun knew that learning never truly ends. His grandmother once told him, "The tree you planted has grown tall, Arjun, but it will continue to grow if you keep nurturing it." Arjun continued to listen to English, read books, watch movies, and practice speaking. He also started writing in English, expressing his thoughts and stories just like the travelers he once admired. Conclusion: the tree of knowledge. Arjun's journey to learning English was like the growth of a tree. It started with a small seed, his desire to learn. With patience, practice, and persistence, that seed grew into a strong tree, with deep roots in listening, imitation, vocabulary, practice, thinking, and conversation. Arjun realized that speaking English correctly wasn't about being perfect. It was about being willing to learn, to make mistakes, and to keep growing. Just like the tree, his knowledge would continue to grow as long as he nurtured it with curiosity and a love for learning. And so, Arjun's story became an inspiration for others in his village, who also began their own journeys to learn English. Together, they planted their own trees of knowledge, each one growing tall and strong, reaching for the sky. The end.